From Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdark.
Nerdarchy.
And we are doing our weekly thing. So, hey, is the bike stand out there? Hey guys, we are set up for our Saturday filming shoots in addition to doing the live chat. We do it all at once. And we have a different setup depending on whether we're doing the live chat with you guys or we're shooting and filming videos. So we shot like 3 videos already today. We're doing good.
Yes, it's definitely been a good day for that.
With we got one more to do after lunch. Ready for lunch.
Yeah,
you guys hang out right here. We're gonna go grab some lunch real quick. We'll be right back.
No.
This will be the stream.
Going
Wawa and then
space.
Well, that's a whole nother set audience of people who want to watch other people eat.
That's just weird.
It's fine. I'll gen a character for 20 minutes. You guys go to Wawa.
This is good. This is a good plan.
So what is the agenda for today's weekly live chat?
This is the weird week that I've really got nothing going on. Nothing. We announced Nate's running his game this month, and I think he said he's got to push it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's been in contact hopefully with his players.
So I have to apologize. I put it on the schedule, and I'm like, yeah, I'm running this game. Don't schedule anything. Might want to contact the players. And then I was like, wait, I can blame this on Ted. He never sent me the list. Excellent.
Well, I specifically asked if you need me to send you something. You're like, no, I got this printout that you gave me. That was the conversation I had.
But then you forgot
the inner workings of Nerdarchy you never even cared about.
Yeah, so regardless of whose fault it is, the game's delayed, and I will announce that when it's going to be happening. But it'll happen before whoever's game's next month is supposed to occur. And my computer broke, so I've got to get that situated before I can use it. So there's that.
Cracked your screen.
Yeah. And unlike a cell phone, touch screens on the computers really don't like to be cracked because that means they decide wherever along that crack that you're pushing simultaneously all at once. And that's just the way they think about it. And I haven't figured out a way around that. So
you can't just use a mouse.
It keeps dragging itself back to one of the spots. So it constantly thinks I'm trying to touch the side of the screen for some reason.
Could I make a suggestion? Don't crack the screen.
That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to have to get some kind of...
a force field. You need a force field.
Sounds like a good
high-end technology.
So it's official. Nerdarchy will be playing D&D in a castle once again. Woo! So
I'm excited.
That will be happening. It's like the weekend. I think it's like the 4th through the 5th-ish of July for next year.
Oh, I didn't know the date. Awesome. Now I know.
Now your beeswax. So yeah, we're gonna have to get some passports. I think.
Passports.
Oh, yeah.
Mine expires. I think like March or May next year. So.
And I have never gone outside the country except on a cruise, which I didn't need a passport for. So.
Well, you needed the boat passport.
Well, yeah. Well,
I don't think you even really needed it, to be honest with you. They didn't even do anything.
You only need it if somehow you get stuck.
Well,
because then you're not getting back in the country easily. It's like, oh, you wanna come back to the country that you claim to be a part of?
Then forget about it.
So I have to say that I have done actual planning for tonight's session.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that's funny because I've been considering doing actual planning for my next session as well.
I've always done actual planning.
As you guys out there know, guys and gals, I do a lot of improv of what's going on, and I get some thoughts, but I actually put the proverbial pen to paper, typing, what have you.
So what'd you come up with?
You'll find out later tonight.
Anything that you want to disclose to the audience? Tell them it's a secret.
What I can tell you is based off of the information that I plugged into koboldfightclub.com is that it is a beyond deadly encounter for you guys.
Nice. We should be a cakewalk then.
So yeah, so I'm hoping that it's going to be fun. Tonight's session should make Mark happy. We have to do a shortened session because we've got real world schedules that people have to deal with today and tomorrow. So
Yeah, I think like Kurt has to be in the ER early in the morning.
So he's
like what? You can't nap in between patients.
So he's like,
surgeries.
I got a hard deadline of 10, and I'm like, all right, I can work with that. I was kind of expecting that the fight that you guys were going to be going into was going to be the tail end of last session. So it'll just be the continuation of that, and whoever winds up surviving tonight will get to level.
I think we got some really cool plan going on. Didn't we plan something cool? Like we're gonna Halo drop into this tower or something?
Your guys, like
it's very convoluted.
We ended with some feather fall and invisibility and flight to land on the top of the tower.
And Ted's like, whatever, because I'm planning on anti-magicking you once you get close enough.
I mean, there were a lot of things that I had considered doing, but I'm like, you know what? I really like the setup of you guys going to the top of the tower and working your way down.
Ocean's 11 style.
Yeah, I figured
there's special forces. Don't give away spoilers though, because they're all behind like 10 sessions.
Yeah, you know, it'll be what it'll be. But I think it's a lot of fun. I've been preparing, and I've got some like, you know, secret things going on like outside of the game that I think that will eventually come to fruition once the campaign actually ends, which right now is scheduled for October.
Bam! Wow, a campaign ending. Just ending because it like actually got done. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean this yeah,
it feels very on our group.
I mean, with us gaming together for over 20 years, like it's never happened to me before as a GM where I've been able to tell.
Are you gonna get emotional and cry?
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm just checking.
It's to me, it's gaming. Like I'll be like, okay, October.
Next
we wrap
characters,
up.
yeah.
It's like, all right, where do we go from here? Like, what is the next story? Who runs? What kind of setup are we looking at? Are we doing in the same world, different area? Are we doing something else? Are we playing an entirely different game? Like, I look to
from a production side, we've discussed like, how about instead of like these shitty videos we've been putting up for our gameplays, do something cool. Like, even if we, like, grab webcams and put, like, a webcam on each side of the table, around the table, and do some boxes, so...
We do have 3 cameras now, so there's that as well.
We do, but I don't know if I'd want to use these for that. I don't know if I want our, thousands of dollars worth of equipment where the pizza and the drinks are. I think I'd rather use maybe some webcams.
And the people, moving around and shifting chairs, and, it's a lot easier just to, focus the cams.
Yeah, maybe.
Not to mention the 3+ hours on the sensors.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
You'd have to have a laptop for each one.
Is it wrong that when I look over at the camera that's off camera and it's got the lens cap on it and I freaked out? I'm like, are we getting picture?
The TED cam. You looked at the TED cam.
Yeah, we don't have cameras 1, 2, and 3. We have camera T, camera D, and camera M. It's weird.
Got a couple questions.
Oh shoot, go for it.
You'll be surprised to hear that Fraginator's still questioning about.
It's the same question. Yell at this guy. He's supposed to be, not doing the live chats. You're supposed to be getting these things going. So
I've been working on some other things.
Then the second one is DM Don asking, I'm attacking my players level 4 to 6 with 2 Onis, hit and run attacks to slowly weaken them. How would you guys suggest dealing with that? Long initiative ideas?
Well, I mean, hit and run, it's not really long initiative like that. They're in essence going to be all surprise rounds. The first round when they come in, and it's kind of easy for an Oni because of invisibility, unless the players do something that's going to counter that. They're always going to get the drop on them.
Onis are a really great threat, especially at those low levels. As if you're asking as the DM, what do you do? I would just keep at it, and like you could treat them as a hazard if the Oni is doing everything to be prepared to be guerrilla style on the move. From the player's perspective, it's like, all right, I'm digging in, and I'm waiting for, like, I'm gonna hold my action for when the Oni reveals himself. I go into it. So like that's what I would look at. What side are you asking for advice?
Well, how long are you going to hold an action? You can't be. It's hard to be at full wariness.
You take
constantly.
Shifts. You take shifts.
You get really tired. So eventually, I guess if the Onis get hit right out the gate, the next time they're going to try and surprise you, they're going to wait a long time for it.
And the perspective is, he says, I'm attacking my players, so.
Well, then that's as Dave says. Like
it kind of like depends on what the trigger is. If you're talking about holding your actions, you still have to declare a trigger. And if it's like they're moving through the forest, Onis pop up, spam them with an ability or an attack, and then run away, they might get to respond. It would also be like a new initiative every time, and you wouldn't carry the same initiatives. So, which could
get annoying 5 or 6 times.
Unless you're trying to do it for ease of, the story and ease of the combat is okay. He's going to do this. Everybody's going to have their chance to react. And rather than rolling initiative every single time, you can go with a static. Maybe you do like a passive initiative, like a passive perception to make it flow better.
There's pros and cons to that.
There's always going to be.
Yeah, the con is if you use a static initiative and you're the guy that has a shitty initiative, you're not going to be happy because you're literally just never going to get to do anything. At least if there's a randomness to it, you have the opportunity to maybe you roll good on your initiative. And the way it would unfold, okay, surprise means, okay, everyone in the surprise round gets to act. Now there are certain features and for classes that allow them to act in the surprise round, which basically the surprise round becomes like round 0 or round 0.5. And everyone gets to take their actions that get to take an action. So the Oni may become visible after it just hit you with an attack or cone of cold or whatever you had to do. Now it would get its movement. It only has so much movement, so it might be feasibly still in range for the players. Now you fall to initiative. If the Oni happen to win initiative, things get a lot more difficult because they could go invisible again. They can use all their movement. They're going to do whatever they can to get away. They can go gaseous. I think that's a thing they do. They used to fly, but I don't think they fly anymore. And so then like the players might get a chance to take some shots at them, and then they're going to leave, and they might get some healing. They might use some hit dice. The players might do the same. Depending on how they're doing their attacks. And if there's 2 of them, whether they're coordinating their attacks, do they strike at the same time or are they alternating? Which would be really annoying to your players. It would make it a lot harder for them to get any kind of resting in.
So I think that's that's a solid plan. The only caveat, which you already pointed out, the good and bad, is rolling initiative every single time could get tedious, depending upon how long you want to keep this guerrilla style going.
Right, and you can also do other interesting things, like have regular random encounters, and have like your Onis pop up during that encounter or at the end of that encounter and do the hit and run then.
That would be a lot of fun.
Well, that's the most dangerous thing about Oni. They have changed shape. They could be anyone or anything.
That's you've got a pair of brown bears, and a third brown bear shows up, and next thing you know, it does a cone of cold. It's like, what the frick?
Who knew?
That's yeah. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun now.
Oh no, we've got Onis coming into the encounter tonight.
No.
Yeah, we're well beyond that.
Onis are
they're minions for us at this point.
Yeah.
I just I love being inspired by what other GMs and stuff are doing. So
by inspirational stuff.
Yeah. So as I said, we've got my game tonight, which I'm super excited about. I've done some planning and gonna see how tonight's gonna roll.
This Tuesday, no Scarlet Sisterhood game because I'll be playing in the Warhammer 40K world premiere for whichever version that is.
Wrath and Glory.
Yeah, Wrath and Glory.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know what edition they're in, or if there was a role playing game before.
Yeah, there's been the Fantasy Flight, but this is their first edition, because Fantasy Flight lost all their connection with GW after making miniatures games.
Mm.
And Jake is actually running the RPG Crate game this Friday, right? So I get to take a little bit of a breather and a break, and that's gonna run. So
I don't know. It sounds like Jake's a pretty brutal GM. I think you're all going to die.
Well, I'm not playing. I get to sit back and actually breathe at night.
I'm just running it as it is. I have nothing to do with it.
And I mean, the material as I've presented it before can be brutal. So we'll see what winds up transpiring. It's not the first time that it wouldn't be the first time if they happen to all die that the material killed them. So wouldn't be new grounds.
So Jake is saying he's not going to go Spoony Leaping Wizard style.
I don't think so. He's over there shaking his head.
You can. It's all right. So do you have the players all squared away for that?
It's going to be the normal group. Everybody so far seems like they're in. There might be one player down, and if so, I'll wind up filling that spot with somebody. So
be on the lookout if Ted needs a player.
We'll find out. At last I saw in the conversation, Jake was like, "I got something going on. I might have to bail out." So.
Not this one.
It's gonna be hard to play without the GM.
The other Jake.
Another guy.
Yes, not the GM Jacob.
Yeah, he's like, what? It's not Ted running the game. Fuck this. I'm out of here.
Jake's a good GM, so.
You don't know.
What Jake are we talking about? I don't even know anymore.
We're just trying to confuse Nate.
That's fine. I'm trying to listen while reading these, and it's really, really hard.
So we have some GM 911s if we get down to it. If you guys have any questions for us, you can always throw a question or Nerdarchy, in there in the chat, and we'll be able to go and answer your questions.
Yeah. Also, I mean, last week we announced the D&D Beyond partnership. They're now a sponsor for us. And down in the description, along with like all the other stuff we did, the videos we did, and the articles that we were on the website, and also the RPG related Kickstarter section is back in the description as well. But at the top of that is also a link to D&D Beyond. So if you guys want to support the channel and you're into the digital software, you can check that out. We've been big fans of it all along. Also, we've released Secrets of the Vault, the Mage Forge. There's a link in the description as well. So that's a new product. It's magic items, there's mundane items, there's new weapon properties, and that's over at the Nerdarchy store, which has had a fantastic facelift. It looks so much better now. It looks like a place I would actually want to shop at compared to what it looked like before.
So if you guys want to help support the channel and check out, Nerdarchy stuff that we created, Nerdarchy swag, that's a great place to go help out the channel.
And it's not ugly to look at anymore.
It's not ugly to look at. I had a thought and it totally just fled out of my head.
Goodbye. So what do you got there?
Okay, so I've got a few things. One of them is a player 911 to start. But it's hello, my name is Tracy, or Tater, as she's called. He or she. Tracy can be both. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a player thing. So normally play an anti-hero, but recently came back to a group of new player character, a homebrew Hellfire Knight. Basically got killed by another PC in the group, and the GM gave the option to switch to a lawful good character. So they're paying 3.5, and checking out a monk, but they don't know. They also like the paladin, but the paladins, there's a whole bunch of paladins. So it's like, okay.
They're all paladins.
Basically, it sounds like the person doesn't really know monk well, is interested in doing it, and would like some feat recommendations. And I didn't notice it was a 3.5 question. But in general, having issues with like maybe leaving the group. So I want to actually take this in the direction of not necessarily the character build, but giving up your hobby over a class change. I would say there's a lot of places you can find different ways to play D&D in the game. So it's kind of like you might not have to leave D&D entirely just because you can't get along with what's going on in a particular group. That's why I wanted to take that.
Dave's trying not to laugh. Just leave D&D forever.
No, actually, like when you started talking, you're like, I usually play characters that are anti-heroes. My internal dialogue was like, ugh. I'm like, all right, I'm so goth. Here we go.
All right, so like it's been so long since
Deadpool's
I've pulled out the 3.5 material that may or may not be able to be seen to my left here. I really don't know the 3-5 feats anymore, just because
you're gonna need like 15 of them, and then after you have that 15, you're gonna do something really effing cool. And really, you're gonna be really good at that one thing.
We always joke here at Nerdarchy back in the table many years ago. We always want to take the feat, bonus feat.
And Ted, what does bonus feat give you?
Bonus feat gives you another feat.
Nice.
So it gives you more feats. Like, how could you not want to take it?
Yeah. So obviously, Nate kind of misread that one a little bit because we are so far out of touch with 3rd edition and other things. But it does speak to a larger thing, and that is make a character for the game that's being played, and it goes along with the party. And that's why you should do a session 0, or at least be in contact with the rest of the players, so that you guys and gals can come together to make something that's cohesive and is going to work. Like, when you have in there, and the party killed my last character. So apparently they did not work together very well.
Along the same lines of not doing a session 0 properly, Zero Grounds is playing Starfinder, and he's based on his own setting, he's like, look, I know there's lots of options in the core rulebook for different races. I want to tell my own story, and I'm only allowing race A and race B as options. One of the players said, well, I really got a great idea for this, and I want to play race C. He allowed it against his better judgment, and after things got rolling, it's created problems. And he's like, I don't want to tell the player you can't play that anymore, but he's hit a number of obstacles and would like some help dealing with the problem.
I'm personally never a fan of limiting the options. I always like more options anyway. So this is always kind of tricky. Or it makes me think of someone that wants to play Lord of the Rings, but they want to use Dungeons and Dragons, and it's completely incompatible because of the way those games run. So you have to remove most of the classes and some of the races, and when you start getting into that, you're really constructing a different kind of game. I mean, it's good that you in the beginning that they kind of came up with, well, this is the game I want to run, and at that point, like, that's kind of like you as a player should either opt out or buy in.
So I totally agree, and I support that concept that if you are going to present an idea, players need to opt in or buy in or opt out. If you as the GM say, all right, I'm going to allow it, then all right, there you've got your one exception, but you have to treat that exception as the exception. There's only 2 races in your world. You're playing something that no one knows about. It's going to be an obstacle. Everyone is going to look at you and say, what the hell are you? It's as if you're a disease. You are something that is an anathema, and people don't know about it. When you are exploring the stars and a new race shows up, it's a gasp. It's a moment. You have to go through that time and time again every time you go to somewhere new. But you could be that one lone survivor of a starship crash. Whether it's magical transportation or technological transportation, you can have someone that is different than everybody else and still have it work that, well, the most of the worlds only know about these 2 races and move ahead with that story. I think that there's ways to make that work if you go through it. It will be exhausting as the GM to, every time you walk into a new town, a new building, a new place, people want to know what you are because you're not one of the 2 known races. But if you go through that over and over again, like, all right, we get it out of our system and we move on.
Like, yeah, like this is the norm. And as to like answering more specific questions, I don't have enough specific information to know what this GM's problems are. Only that they didn't want to allow the thing. They did allow the thing. Now it's a problem, but I don't know exactly what those problems are. And how adding this extra race is that different, especially because having looked at the Starfinder races or species, they are all pretty compatible. They're not like they're all pretty balanced against themselves. So I don't, to me, it doesn't seem like it would be a balanced thing.
I think it was more of a narrative. So like I only have the information that Zero Grounds gave us. I imagine that it was supposed to be over the course of the game. There was going to be an exploratory where you get to meet the other races, and you wanted it to be impactful of there are more out there. So it's a problem if there's more out there at start of the game.
So one of the problems I could think of having is if this character is the anomaly and it's from the other place, well, according to them, do they then know about all other races? And that's kind of ruining the narrative in the sense that you're saying, you have this information that no one else in this part of the universe, campaign world, whatever you want to call it, has. And you're kind of like flaunting and throwing it around.
I would treat it as okay, just like Superman, you were raised as a baby on a foreign world.
Problem with that.
Well, I'm not saying you're given Superman powers. I'm saying
no. Hear me out before you get any further. He's already said, I have a cool backstory. And he said, okay, and he bought into it and allowed it.
That's true.
The compromise would have needed to happen previously already. And that would be a good fix. And or it might not even work for why this player wanted to play the other thing. So, you'd have to do something where, maybe the known galaxy does not accept you for what you are, what you say you are. And they treat you as some kind of experiment, some kind of mutant, some kind of freak thing. Or, maybe the canon from where you're from is different, right? Like the GM works with you and says, no, it's going to be different. You're an isolated species too. You just get to use this one,
right?
That's away from the others. So, but like you said, it's all speculation because we don't really know what the real problems are. Watch Star Trek. Watch every episode of every Star Trek show and see how they interact with all the other different species and aliens, and that'll give you a good basis to work for. It shouldn't take you too long either.
Not at all.
It took me.
Not at all.
I didn't watch the original, but I watched everything from Next Gen on, and that did take a while to do.
Well, Doug would totally disagree with you. He says the original is the best.
Well, that's the great part about opinions.
Doug can have a wrong one.
Doug can have a wrong one. It's 25 seasons from Next Gen on.
Is that it? Yeah. And then, the only one is a couple seasons. It's not that long. It seems like it was.
Yeah, but then you have to deal with Captain Kirk.
And what are you talking about? You get that awesome acting.
I'm sorry, I don't like Captain Kirk.
That's okay.
But really, how could you not, Ted? Don't you understand?
So we got a question from Tomic Beswick. I recently had a player play a Halfling Revised Ranger Beastmaster, and he decided to use his companion as a mount. All was fine until he attacked, and then used the mount's action to disengage. Reading through the rules, he found that there's no problems with this, and from the GM's perspective, he can get in and out of combat safely and not take attacks of opportunity. Grr.
So what?
He's a rogue. He do the same thing.
Yeah, rogues do the same. That is one of the benefits of playing that character class. I mean, you're not going to be able to get the extra damage that the hunter gets. What you get is mobility. And just hit your other players harder, and then you'll hate them.
So I completely agree. I think a small ranger on a panther or something along those lines makes a really cool character concept, and you can do the dex-based ranger of sometimes I attack range, sometimes I attack with my my finesse weapon, and you can have a lot of fun with it.
And the truth of the matter is, you could have just been using a short bow or a crossbow and hitting them from across the battlefield anyway.
Right.
So it only helps. You avoid attacks of opportunity, but it does not negate you getting attacked from ranged attacks. It's a feature. It's not a bug.
In the concept of D&D, if you are going to play with tactics and have a lot of fun, I think there's a level of enjoyment there. And if you want to describe, my halfling gets on the mount, I ride into combat, stab, and then off you go. Sure, no problem. What's the issue?
The other thing that might happen too is if a bunch of foes witness this, they might ready an action next time, and they're kind of annoyed, so they wait till the halfling comes in and they impale them, because all 5 of them focus fire on the halfling. But like, you're not going to
mount.
Yeah,
well, or the mount.
What prevents them from attacking the mount, who is moving away?
The disengage action.
Okay.
The mount makes the disengage, and therefore the rider, who is being forced to move, doesn't draw attacks opportunity.
Okay, so the mount is using it. Okay. Now, my issue... Okay.
As that British Mexican says, that's quite a pet peeve.
Nice.
Yeah, just murder the mage instead. I don't know.
Geek the mage.
It's just disengage. You know what's the problem is? I think the issue is the DM's looking at it from the side of, look at all those attacks and damage I'm being cheated of.
But
when it's really, it's just like they didn't. So what? It's just one extra feature you can't use right there.
Whatever the adversary is, it's still going to get a movement, and it's still going to get an attack on its turn. So, yeah, you moved in, you attacked, and moved out. All right, well, you only have so much movement. Are you saying the adversary is not going to be able to get an attack off because you've moved too far away?
Well, mounts are kind of fast.
Yeah, but here's the thing, too. Anyway, right? Okay, the fight. You kind of like bolt up next to the fighter. You attack this guy, and then you bolt out. He doesn't get to attack you. Fine. The orc steps up around the fighter and looks you dead in the eye, and then stabs the fighter in the back because you just opened him to that attack. Because you did not have his flank. You did not protect him. You were a shitty ally.
So, like, there's another angle at it. The attacks then go to somebody else, and it's your fault.
If you want to be helpful, you could DM to say that it's no longer, because it's the beast, it's no longer a controlled mount, it's an independent mount, so where it has its own initiative step. If you wanted to be that way, but the Beastmaster rules really come into conflict with that. But if you wanted to actually be, like, help that situation for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm completely cool with how it's written.
Usually people are complaining about how underpowered the Beastmaster is anyway.
Yeah, we are talking about the Beastmaster.
And they're like, now they found a way to make it good. And like Ted said, yeah, you focus on the mount instead of the rider.
And we all know that Ranger Beast Companions don't have a lot of hit points. So
in comparison to the rest of
the rest of the parties, that mount's going to go down quick.
Yeah, so as the player, I'd be concerned about making my GM a little too grumpy about about my disengaging beasts.
And then, I believe, isn't there certain things like Sentinel? Does Sentinel ignore? So that there are certain things in the game that completely ignore that disengage anyway. So I wouldn't do it all the time. If you overuse it, then, that's problematic. But the one time you do use it, your player is going to be like, especially if it is like the Sentinel feat and you just like hit them and stop their movement. Mm-hmm. And then maybe because of that, now the player actually has to make a ride check to stay on because they weren't expecting the mount to stop moving all of a sudden. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a feature, not a bug.
So we have A-Money has a problem with True Polymorph, and he's got some wrong facts in here, thinking that somebody at 17th level has 2 9th level spells, which you only ever get 1. But saying you can polymorph yourself into an adult gold dragon or a similar dragon at that level, and he feels that it's a problem and it's too powerful. Thoughts, feelings?
Wish.
They're really high level. Like that's what you do.
Super high level spells.
That's what you do.
If you get to be able to cast 9th level spells, like you are going up on world breaking powers. So yeah, being able to turn yourself into a adult gold dragon for a combat or for a time, really don't have a problem with it.
In my one Spelljammer game I ran, literally 2 of the players got polymorphed into dragons to fight the enemies. Whatever, it was fun. I mean, things happened like the concentration got broken at one point, and they weren't dragons anymore. But that being said, in the encounter, it was fun. It happened, and even one of the players that got polymorphed into a dragon got shredded and died, outright death in that encounter. Not got dropped. So I don't know. Maybe it's a problem in your game. I don't worry about these things.
I look at this as a whole. we are out there to have fun. So when players do crazy and amazing things with their 9th level spells and what have you, there's sometimes you're like, all right, I was not prepared for this level of insanity. As a GM, I need to step up, and I need to prepare like powers to be able to throw at them. All right, the players decide we're going to tag team and counterspell the heck out of every spell like ability. All right, well, I'm going to throw it right back at them. You know, it's what you do. It is a back and forth fun game. I'm not trying to be adversarial. I want everybody to have fun and experience the same as I do.
And also, anything that can be done by the player, it can be done by the dungeon master. So you can use the same tactics on them as well, and then they have to figure out how to deal with them and cope with them.
Except Lucky. Ted's banned from fighting a Lucky against us, all right? Ginger's banned.
Lucky the Lord.
Lucky's evil twin, which he probably already has.
Feet, yeah.
Yeah, no.
No, we're talking about Henri.
Yeah,
Jean-Jacques d'Ombrenoir. Finally been able to pronounce that.
Well, good. It's just time for the campaign to end.
But yeah. So I've got a handful of sessions. We're supposed to be playing this game till October. So when I mass dominate you guys, that'll be great.
It'll be awesome. Then we will be the bad guys.
Just turn you on each other for my own amusement. See who wins that fight.
Oh no, it doesn't sound fun.
You don't think I haven't thought about that?
Can you force the cleric to cast Blade Barrier?
No, it's not on my list.
I can't force him to cast it if he doesn't have it prepared.
I do not have it prepared. I took it off.
Just in case such an occasion
happened. But I could dominate him and have him cast, Firestorm on you guys.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
That's a good example too. Like Ted, had Nate's character casting Blade Barrier a few times. Yeah. So Ted fixed that problem. He had the monsters push, drag, pull Nate's character into the Blade Barrier. Inevitably, Nate would make his concentration check against the Blade Barrier and fail the saving throw through the damage somehow. Mm-hmm. And like multiple times in a combat, get hit by the same spell, his own, and he's like, "I'm done." And the best was when I think it was the Balor used the whip, hits him with it, and then drags him in.
Passed my concentration check on the whip attack. Didn't pass it. Well, then I got thrown into it.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is just an obstacle for me to deal with now.
That's a pretty good segue. DM Don asks, I feel like there isn't enough player death in 5e. How do you guys feel about that?
Kill more players.
You are literally omnipotent. What's wrong with you?
5th edition, we've talked about this before. It has the lowest of any edition of being able to have survival from death. We get a Revivify at level 5 if you're playing a single class cleric.
It's expensive, but you can do it.
But at level 5, 300 gold pieces is not a lot to just, okay, I've got this in a bank. I've got my diamond. We bought it once, and boom.
Tell that to Jester.
We're not going to let that go any further in case you guys out there, aren't watching the game. Or are watching the game and aren't caught up. But if you're prepared for that, it's not that big a deal to kill a player and be able to say, all right, I got this. I'm gonna go, bring him back. Matt Mercer did a video with D&D Beyond. I think it went up yesterday or 2 days ago on YouTube, and they were talking about character death and how it can be as much a part of the game as you want. If you want it in your games and you want it to be harder, use his system. He actually has a penalty system or a more challenging resurrection system that it's not just, I cast Revivify or Raise Dead and poof, they come back. It's not a guaranteed success. Every character has a chance to either aid or, while attempting to aid, you could hurt. And he's got a DC that he sets of what it takes to come back to life. And if you succeed on your check of however you're attempting to help, the DC gets lowered. If you fail, the DC, gets harder. And then once everybody's decided what they're doing, he rolls the D20 and then see whether he meets that DC or not. If it passes, the character comes back to life. If it fails, that character stays dead and they are unable to be resurrected ever. They're done. They stay gone. And, there's been a couple of times in campaign 1 where he used that system, and I thought it was really cool. And, I don't know if it exists, anywhere else, whether other GMs are using it, but it's something that I'm like, maybe if I start another game, that's something that you talk about. And
it's in the Tal'Dorei system setting a little bit. I don't know if it's the exact thing, but there's something in there in one of the optional rules.
Okay.
For sure. Adventures League, Wizards of the Coast introduced the Death Curse in the last season for Adventures League. So there was no resurrection. There was no coming back. If you died, you died.
Right.
There's also meat grinder mode in some of the things where the DC is higher for stabilizing.
Was that in Tomb of Annihilation?
Yeah. So there are definitely things you can do if you want a more deadly game. And then the other thing is obviously harder encounters, harder adventures. Like, take the training wheels off if that's what you feel like you need to do. Use random encounters that aren't based on an appropriate challenge rating for the characters that are in the game. This is just what you wandered into. You're in a jungle where there's T-Rexes. So, that's what I rolled. A T-Rex showed up. Your first level, not my problem. I hope you can outrun or at least outrun it, or at least outrun your buddy.
One of the things that I've found within this edition that I enjoy doing is if you want to have combats that last a little bit longer and be more challenging without just being outright devastating from the onset, is used tiered combat. So all right, combat starts. You have X number of enemies. Well, as combat goes, those numbers are going to deplete. Well, round by round, find a way to add more things. You're in a cave structure and things are spread out. So as the sound of combat happens, things move in. So second round, third round, fourth round, new adversaries are entering into the fray. So the same number of attacks can happen as things are depleted from the battle without everything being able to attack and overwhelm your party.
Yeah, using waves instead of...
So I think that's a good way to balance the encounter if you're unsure how much your party can take.
It also teaches your players not to Nova.
That works as well.
Yeah, we might learn that someday.
What are you talking about? Action Steel Wind Strike. First time around the combat.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then the moment the fight's on, short rest, please. Short rest now. Now, can I get a short rest?
Yeah. I'm pressing the button as hard
And
as I
depending
can.
upon, where you are, sometimes short rest or long rest are not going to be, not going to be possible. So you set things up. Yeah, sometimes you absolutely can. I can short rest or long rest after every combat, no problems. Other times, time is going to be a factor. Okay, you've entered into a dungeon or into a tower or something where things are going to hear the combat. So once combat starts, boom, you're going to get combat after combat after combat, and it's going to be a slugfest, but players are going to have to learn, well, I either, don't Nova, or the last encounter is going to be really hard.
Also, the DMG has a bunch of optional rules in there you can employ that are going to make the game harder and tougher. So I would start there. Look at those. And then also, in all fairness, though, if you're going to play these kinds of games, you should let your players know this is what you're doing. You can make your own optional rules. It's your game. Customize it. If that's the experience you're looking for, just make sure you match up what you're looking for with what the players want as well, so everyone's playing in the same game.
So, in addition to the true polymorph, after an hour, the transformation can become permanent. So, if you've got a fighter who's been polymorphed into a dragon, would you incorporate all of the fighter abilities?
No, that's not how it works.
So, all right, that's just one of the things that they're talking about.
You are now a dragon for intensive purposes, and in theory, you don't even have class levels.
All right, well, I didn't have to finish that part.
I mean, that's just the rules. You become that monster.
So there you go. So I hope that answers your question there, Emily.
Can you become the variant monster?
That would be up to the GM. But yeah, I mean, if the GM's using them, then I would say yes. You're already a caster. But your casting ability would be greatly reduced.
Well, that's if you do it to yourself.
Yeah, if you do it to yourself, yes.
But if you take okay, well, I've got an NPC hireling,
my mule,
that I've convinced to help me out. Poof, you're now a gold dragon.
You're a puppy. You're very loyal to me.
When it comes to the spellcasting variants, though, there is an argument to be made, because does polymorph change your mental faculties?
Yes. Polymorph absolutely does.
Okay. So, like, if you become a snail, you are a snail now?
Yeah, well, that's like the biggest thing where, like, everyone was like, oh my god, you can use, conjure woodland beings, get pixies, and polymorph the party into T-Rexes. But I'm like, your brain is out of a T-Rex. Any complex plants, throw them out the window. You're not capable of them anymore. You're an animal. And really, I would also argue, like, in the case of, like, true polymorph or something like that, you're not even capable of being a PCable race character anymore because you're animal intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now we'll just stare at the camera.
Yeah, we'll just stare at the camera. All right. So when we went out to L.A. and hung out with Satine and Rudy, we got a copy of Satine's book, The Action Heroine's Journey, which she signed for us. So at some point in time today, we'll pick a winner and send this out.
Yes. So it's a book written by Satine, signed by Satine, and she even touched it. So, well, that didn't sound good. So we will give that away at the end, the last 5 minutes or so, as we've been known to do.
So the game that we gave away last week, we did get contact. The box is still sitting over there. I need to send it out. I had some issues with the customs form, so when I attempted to send that out, they're like, I don't have all the information here. So I had to reach back out, got the answer, and didn't manage to get back to the post office this morning. So that British Mexican,
it's coming your way.
I got your stuff. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that back in the mail on Monday.
Hey Ted, how many of these books do we have?
Just one.
This is a very special edition version, because there's some printing errors in it.
There's printing errors.
Oh yeah, hardcore. Let's see. It won't take me long to get to them, but where are you at? There's many of them. It's there. From you see the stripe?
Well,
in that case, grab something else to add to it.
All right. So
she did you dirty.
Yeah. Curse you, Satine Phoenix.
Well, then from Black Scroll Games, we'll send out some tiles.
All right, we'll put them together. We'll actually send the book too. But, there's a certain parts where you're going to have to figure out what the word was supposed to be.
I apologize. I did not flip through.
It's a mental puzzle. Some mental gymnastics, some training, extra bonus.
You can use it as a puzzle in your next campaign.
Yeah.
Find out what this page says.
What does it all mean?
And as per all the usual things, this is just us giving something away because we love everyone who's watching. It's not affiliated with anybody. We ship internationally, and you've got to put some kind of comment in the live chat while we're doing this, and we'll do the deal. So
these are double-sided. These are kind of cool.
Yeah, this is sewer tiles, right?
They are the sewer tiles. Yes, they are.
So Black Scroll Games sent us those a while ago. We haven't managed to put it in a pile yet, so it's going to go out today. So
everything's got to go.
Thank you to Satine. Thank you to Black Scroll Games.
Yes, very awesome.
James asks, when building an NPC, what are your thoughts about adding monster abilities to a PC class like Undead Fortitude from a zombie, for example?
Absolutely.
We love, from Curse of Strahd on, I think they started doing this, where they built they built their NPCs in the adventures. Well, they kind of do it in the back of the monster manual as well, but they build NPCs as monsters. And I prefer that over just taking a PC character class from the PHP or one of the other books and just treating it like a monster and just using it and building a character sheet from it. I like the way they do the NPCs far better. I am fully in agreement with Dungeon Master makes his stuff this way. Sorry, Nate. And players make their stuff this way. I think it's great. It makes more interesting stuff.
I tend to go the other direction. I take a monster and I add, a handful of class abilities to it to make it a little bit spicier. You can give something a fighting style. If you've got something that is fightery, giving it an action surge can be powerful. and I've used that before. You know, if you give the Archmage, oh well, this happens to be an evocator, so it's going to sculpt its spells around its allies. Oh, that's cool. You know, you don't have to worry about hurting your allies. That's a lot of fun. You know, imagine taking an Archmage. He's not an intelligence. He's a sorcerer, so now he's got sorcery points to play with. Ooh, fun.
Canada and I did a 2-hour live stream where we talked about just simply taking like a goblin or some other type of monster, low level, and just adding a class level or two, and how it kind of really transforms it. Like goblins become significantly harder to deal with just adding 1 or 2 fighter levels to them.
Well, Wizards kind of addressed that, you know, right in the DMG and the monster manual itself. Like if there's a page in the DMG that lists like all the monstrous races and what they do, what they add to an NPC, whether it's abilities or stat adjustments, because all the NPCs are just assumed to be humans. So if you know, even just other races like a Dragonborn, well, now if you take a veteran and he's a Dragonborn, well, he's got a resistance to 1 energy type and he has a breath weapon. So yeah, I'm all for that. You know, it's great when your players don't really know what to expect, or they think that the encounter is going to be one thing, but it's something else because you made some tweaks or some changes. I like doing that all the time, and you can see where it really messes up experienced gamers and maybe even gamers that GM a lot, because they think they know all the rules and they think they know all the monsters, but when you just reskin something, a good example is the Abishi. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
That's how I pronounce it as well.
You know, the black ones have this ability where they create darkness. Well, I had a bunch of them, and I changed the way they look, and they were in like the astral plane. But so instead of breathing out and creating this cloud of darkness, I just made it more like a silvery cloud that blotted out everything and created, you know, concealment. So my one player is like, "What do you mean I don't get a saving throw?" Well, because I'm blinded. I'm like, "You're not blinded. You just can't see."
You can see all that silvery mist in front of you just fine.
Yeah. You know, everything is obscured. You know, and that player is like I could tell they wanted to say like, "You're cheating, I know it," but I'm like, you know, no, I just reflavored the darkness effect.
Do something.
So yeah. adding something to, you know, a monster or an NPC that is unlike what else is out there, to me, that gets the players guessing. I game with a lot of veteran players, and as a GM, that can be a challenge. Therefore, 90% of my encounters, I modify because I don't want someone saying, "Oh, that's an X." I don't want them knowing exactly what I'm putting on the table. I know they're not going to metagame. I know that they're not going to be like, "Oh, well, I'm going to cast Fireball because I know that this is vulnerable." No, most of my players are awesome, but I want to remove that temptation. I want them to be like, "What the F was that? What did you use? What did you change?" And you know, the fact that we eventually get those gameplays up, I want, you know, the people who watch to then be inspired of like, "Oh, you know, what was that? Can I figure it out? You know, can I make that same kind of thing? Can I use that?"
They're gonna ask you to stat it for them. Pretty much.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to get better at that. If I do make something, that I do compile and write it down, and you know, I got plans for said things in the future.
I tend to like have 2 different tabs open on D&D Beyond and 2 different monsters. I'm like, I'm using this and this. Or when I was using a book, I would have a post-it in each page and be like, "All right, what do I need from each of these?" And just flip back and forth.
I wanna make those things. You know, maybe I'll throw it up on D&D Beyond, or maybe I'll put it somewhere that I can do something with, and you know, have that be a permanent Nerdarchy thing. That, hey, I made that, you know, Drider Archmage. You know, what did I call it? The Arachnomancer. You know.
Alterel asks, have you guys finally put Jeremy's Andrew character to the correct and true AC, which should be 25 Dwarven Plate plus 1 equals 21 Shield plus 1, so far, and so on.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I do. Yeah, well, Jeremy hasn't played with us in a long time.
That Jeremy. Sorry, I haven't gamed with Jeremy in a long time. So
yeah, since he rage quit.
Yeah,
But his armor class is probably correct someplace.
Somewhere.
You
know, whether I was, you know, right or wrong, you know, he was a challenging player. He struggled with the rules at times, and sometimes, you know, things get heated.
Thanks for trolling Ted, Chris.
Great job.
Yeah, great job. So, you know, talking about the, you know, changing monsters, even just like reskinning them, I've seen has a huge effect. Like I took like brown bears out of the monster manual, and I just described what I thought a bear would look like if it was inside out.
Right.
And like the players have no idea what it is all of a sudden. All of a sudden it is some kind of undead or apparition or something really weird. But no, it was just a bear.
In the one fan game that I ran a while ago, maybe it was like might have been one of the first fan games I ran, I used a shambling mound, but as opposed to it being a lump of vegetation, I had it was like this, you know, slimy tentacle mass that arose from the swampy waters. So it was still even in the proper terrain, and they were terrified of the description. They had no clue what it was, you know, and it was a fun encounter because the players had no idea, and that was just a reskin. I didn't change anything but the verbal description.
I ran like I ran a blood cultist one shot, I think it was. And what are the handmaidens? Yokels? Mm-hmm. Yenicles? I'm not sure how you say
I
that.
pronounce it yokel.
I need to go to D&D Beyond to hit the
Is it
button.
a local yokel?
Yeah, but I described because they had that waxy appearance and they look like they're like a column of wax. Mm-hmm. I made them columns of blood instead.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like it's so easy to take things and just twist them around. Also, I think I used a Vrock and just described it like I said. It was like just like looking like some kind of crazy humanoid blood vulture. And, you know, I guess that's one of the biggest things is, like, you know, people always want to know how we do things. What's the stat for that? But a lot of stuff, we just kind of change it on the fly and make these little tweaks. And they can, sometimes they're only visual.
Mutants and Masterminds, that was one of the big takeaways from that system was that visual means nothing in that game. You know, and that was the biggest lesson that I learned was that you can describe it however you want. Mechanically, it's X, but however you want to get there, boom. And I've used that lesson over and over again. And therefore, you take a monster, you reskin it. Its flavor is the same, but the way you use it can be different. Therefore, you can take any monster, any stat block, and say, I want to use this, but what can I change to make that be the encounter I want it to be? Because visually it doesn't fit with what's going on, but if I change those visuals, well, now it fits.
In our in the Greyhawk game I played in, Kika was playing a caster, and she asked Grant if she could reflavor the fireball. And she reflavored it to a bee bomb instead. So instead of being a fireball, it exploded into bees and
did the piercing damage.
Yeah, piercing damage instead.
I have reflavored fireball in so many different ways as a GM. It's awesome. I love doing it. You can wind up changing the saves. It's still the same spell. You can still do craziness with it. It's still gonna hit the same area, but reflavoring spells works the same as reflavoring monsters. You just, change it, and now the players are a little bit more skeptical about like, well, I don't know that spell. Like, you can make the DC if they're making an Arcana check to know what it is. It's like, well, you've never seen it before, so as opposed to it being 10 plus the spell level, well, now it's 15 plus the spell level, or 20 plus the spell level if it's unique, and it's more fun, more challenging because it's unknown.
Could even be impossible. There's no way for them to possibly know this information because no one else has seen it before.
There you go.
You'd be like, no, it's not actually a spell. That thing just actually vomits out clusters of bees, angry bees.
So it's like as opposed to a that kind of check. Well, maybe it's a different kind of skill check. Maybe it's as you said, impossible. You gotta GM that on the fly sometimes.
Making the possible impossible. You're a Nerdarchy.
So no other questions out there?
Good. Let's go to lunch.
Actually, it's probably time to do the giveaway.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we're down to the last few minutes?
Yes.
All right, so again, thank you to Black Scroll Games. We got sewer map tiles, and thank you to Satine Phoenix, The Action Heroine's Journey, signed by herself.
And RK, well, it's not signed by RK Cyrus, but
The mistress of GM tips and Maze Arcana herself.
Queen of Dungeons and Dragons.
There you go. So you can begin scrolling, and this time Nate's gonna do the stop.
sure. You can go. Stop.
You can go stop. It would be DM Don.
All right.
Forget that. No way. No, actually, we can just bring it to him.
I mean, I can reshow.
No,
No,
that's who won. You know, DM Don is awesome.
Dave was just being a jerk.
So we have your contact information, but you know the drill.
Email us.
Email us, the information, and I can get this sent out to you, or we can plan that, Nerdarchy Drinks and Dragons hangout, and I can just
Deliver it.
there you go.
It pays to sit here and yak with me in the chat.
For this kind of stuff, it totally does.
And you never know when we're going to give something away.
Absolutely. So we've mentioned this a couple of times before. Dave and I and Jake and Doug are getting ready to head out to Gen Con. So if you're going to be there, please let us know. We want to try and see if we can plan a Nerdarchy hangout, of some kind out there. This is my first Gen Con, so I'm super excited and kind of slightly terrified because this is the biggest convention that I'll go to.
Are you afraid you're going to get kidnapped or something?
No, it's just
What are your fears,
It's okay,
Ted?
Ted. Dave will be there.
It's just the
He's afraid. He's totally going to leave me someplace.
He's going to tell me to go this place. I'm going to get lost, and it'll be over.
it's just like the sheer mass. Like I've seen the crowds, and
Yeah,
I don't think I'm gonna get swept away or lost or kidnapped or any of that kind of stuff. But it's not like the usual conventions where you can walk around and see all the stuff.
I'm a little more concerned because if they start offering Ted hunks of plastic, he will not be able to resist. They'll be able to lure him into a white paddle van.
Well, there is that with the sheer mass of vendor space of whether I'll be able to resist myself and.
I'm packing light. You'll be fine. I'll be your Sherpa.
Oh, that is quite the gift, Ted.
I think, it'll be fun. I think you're gonna have a good time.
Oh,
I know Cody from Taking 20 is gonna be there. There's gonna be a lot of people.
There's a lot of people that I've met online that I know are going to be there. So I'm worried about whether there's enough time to meet everybody and see everybody.
There's never enough time. Like my wife went out to Origins with me. And she's like, "This is what you do when you do a convention." I'm like, "This is what I do," because it's getting up early and staying up late. Yeah, it's like you're getting up between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to 3, 4 in the morning.
That's going to be hard for me to stay at that kind of caliber. We're gonna hit you with stim packs.
You're fine though because you don't have to use any of your faculties. You can just enjoy yourself because myself and Doug will be there to keep you guys on track. You don't have to think.
I'll need to bring the caffeine injections.
Yeah, we can hit you with them every once in a while. I think it'll be more fun if he doesn't know when they're coming. What is it? Hoodwinked with the squirrel every once in a while. He's like, I see Ted. Is he about to Hulk out? Nah, it's just a little caffeine shot. 5 points of damage.
We're at 3 or 4, so you guys are.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. It's always a pleasure to do this every week and give you guys time to ask your questions and thank you for all the love and support that you guys do to Nerdarchy.
Yep. Till next time.
Stay nerdy.